The king Barou versus the puppeteer Rin Itoshi. These two are the top scorers of the NEL, and due to him receiving a special training from Snuffy, Barou missed out on facing Rin in the first game, and the battle between the most efficient strikers of the league remains unanswered. So, in today's video we are going to break down each player's stats, abilities and explore their best feats, to determine how would these two monsters fare against one another and who would come on top. Before we start, however, I would like to mention that I covered both players in great detail in their respective first matchup videos, so make sure to check them out. But, as always, I will make sure to cover both players greatly here and explore what they can do to reach a satisfactory conclusion. Barou, the self-proclaimed king of Blue Lock, known for his big ego and cold but very stubborn persona, and in the same vein Barou believes that the king should shine more than anyone, and that he deserves to lead more than anyone. But that's just on surface level. Beyond the hostile looks and the slurs, however, lies a man with a dedication to his craft that can even rival that of the pros. With an insane training regime and a level of focus like none other, Barou is the true embodiment of the saying, a man of his own creation. But as always, let's start with his physical stats. It is no secret here, Barou presents one of the best physicalities in Blue Lock, with great muscle mass and great overall stats. But not only that he is gifted, his physicality is perfectly refined due to the insane training regime he has been religiously following since being a kid. This resulted in him being one of the strongest and most durable U20 players we've seen thus far. In fact, let's cut to the chase. Second only to Kunigami and Tokimitsu, Barou presents an extraordinary raw power and strength. But impressively enough, Barou remains far more threatening than both, due to his charges that fully utilize his strength to slice through the defense, resulting in one of the most difficult strikers to stop head-on. Now, I've spoken about this before, but probably his biggest strength feat is his goal in the U20 game, forcing his way through Neo and Darai. But recently in the Bastard game, he was able to hold both Yuki and Raichi, who were not able to stop him from shooting. Furthermore, this raw power is backed up by an insane endurance, which was at full display in the Bastard game. After scoring the equalizer, Barou played like a madman. The way he was charging everyone in the center of the field, going up and down and scaling the pitch multiple times at an insane pace to the point he seemed everywhere. And this is without metavision, meaning it wasn't perfect positioning, it was pure hunger and drive, which takes his endurance numbers very high. Next, let's talk about his jumping ability. Before I spoke about Barou not having any jumping feats, which the beautiful people in the comments corrected me that his second goal versus Team V in the first selection was a header. However, that was against an unmotivated Nagi, so it's not that big of a feat. But we could say from this, and due to his height, it's above average, leaning towards good. And finally, let's talk speed, Barou's weakest stat. Now, it's not bad by any means, but it falls short against the top players, and not even the speedsters. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the juicy stuff. It's time we talk about his abilities and weapons. First, as I stated earlier, Barou is a man of his own creation. Almost all of his weapons and abilities stem from his mindset and his insane training regime, which never stops to be captivating, by the way. As such, the first weapon we are going to talk about was born out of a near madness level of practice and repetition, his shooting ability. With a 30-meter range, Barou has a cannon for a righty mid-range shot to the right top corner. As I said before, this shooting ability is considered the best in Blue Lock, and second only to Kaiser's crazy impact in the U20 category. Being this consistent of a weapon, his shooting ability is at the center of his playing style. Almost all of his other weapons serve the purpose of either getting him in range or ensure his shot is translated into a goal. And the biggest example of this is his aforementioned charges, which Barou uses to get in range. And in the same vein, and serving the same purpose, Barou also presents an above average dribbling ability, which is funny cause his techniques aren't really coherent with each other, but are meant to get the job done and pass few players. The most noticeable of these techniques is his lightning dribbling, which is basically chop feints followed by acute angle cuts. These in tandem with his charges and his shooting threat make Barou a menace of a striker. He either forces his way through, or like we've seen, his chops are more than often successful in throwing the best of defenders to get him in range and allow him to score. However, having the ability to get in range requires more than just skill. A striker must present an unrivaled hunger for goals and a great sense of scoring, like we have seen from Isagi in the Ubers game. Even if your weapons are great, the hunger you present is the last push towards the goal. As for Barou, I'm not even sure anyone comes close to his hunger, with probably Shido being the only exception. Regardless of the situation, the score, or the team he's on, Barou is constantly hunting for any opportunity to score. Barou is a true goal hunter, a predator you could say, which leads us straight to his best weapon, that is his ocular ability, the predator eyes. Now, in addition to meta vision, I've already covered this type of vision in many of my videos. But in essence, predator eyes are a weapon that is meant for pure strikers, that ensures that their shots are translated into goals. To be honest, having these eyes is a testament to Snuffy's genius, as they serve as the last piece that completes Barou's impressive set of abilities. The Predator Eyes requires the player to have an insane shooting ability, which Barou covers by miles, and also, as far as we have seen, Barou is the only U20 player that can utilize both types of the Predator Eyes. The goalkeeper hunting ability that Snuffy taught him, and that we have seen from Rin in chapter 99, and the goal course hunting ability that we have seen from Kaiser, which Barou awakened on his own when he got pushed by Isagi and Kaiser in the Bastard game. Speaking of him evolving his Predator Eyes, ever since the second selection where for the first time in his life he got completely dethroned by Kunigami and Isagi, Barou has started showing a level of adaptability, and while not on the level of Isagi's, when being cornered, Barou has no issue deconstructing his plays and rebuilding them. His chopped dribbles, his goal in the U20 game, him taking over Ubers, and then his insane performance against Bastard after the equalizer are all byproducts of this adaptability. And in that game, he developed a sense of protagonist feeling since he understood both Hiyori and Isagi's plays, in addition to Snuffy and Ubers. This honestly adds to Barou's level of threat, as now he can understand very clearly his opponents and his teammates, and makes him the best pure striker in Blue Lock. But can he beat the prodigy Rin Itoshi? But before we carry on, however, I am happy to announce that this video is sponsored by Anime Express. If you are looking for the best quality shirts, hoodies, jewelry and LEDs featuring your favorite anime and manga, like Jujutsu Kaisen and Demon Slayer, head to animeexpress.store and use code ACE10 for a 10% discount on your purchases. The link is in the description. Thank you. Rin Itoshi, the poster boy of Blue Lock. Ever since his introduction, Rin was that guy. He was him. Having an innate talent for football, but unlike for example Nagi, Rin doesn't only ride his talent. In fact, Rin is one of the most dedicated players in the show. He trains like hell and takes the sport he loves very seriously. And like I said before, looking at his stats and abilities separately doesn't really tell the full story, as in addition to boasting a great physicality, Rin also presents one of the highest soccer IQs in the U20 category, which allows him to utilize his rather impressive skill set and insane spatial awareness very effectively, and dominates Blue Lock pretty much ever since its inception. But first, let's start with his physical stats. And I've gotta say that Rin is a special case. Usually players lean towards having a dominant attribute that works as a signature stat, whether be it speed, raw power, endurance, or even jumping ability. However, the case with the Itoshi brothers, and Ryo of course, is that they boast a near-perfect well-rounded physical abilities. They don't dominate any area, but Rin has great jumping ability, great speed, great reflexes, solid raw power and endurance, and overall amazing physicality, in addition to a spatial awareness on a level like none other. And as I stated in Rin's opening statement, his physicality is backed up by genetics, but this would be taking away a lot from Rin. Much like Barou and recently Isagi, Rin presents the seriousness needed to be a top player. He works tirelessly to hone his skills and stats to the finest, which really makes him a specimen, a player with an insane talent and dedication. Really, he is the final boss of Blue Lock. But obviously this final boss has an insane skill set to go along with his physical stats. In fact, Rin is the king of using weapons before they get introduced, and without proper training for them. He's just a genius like that. As we all know, Rin was the player who introduced the idea of utilizing your eyes on the field beyond just focusing on the ball. And while we have seen this from Naruhaya as well, Rin was operating on a whole different level due to the first ability I want to talk about. That is his spatial awareness, which is honestly off the charts and allows Rin to position himself perfectly, whether be it on defense or more importantly on offense. Ever since his first introduction, Rin was known for his calculated off-the-ball movements, who were matched only by Shido in Blue Lock and later by Isagi after unlocking Metavision. Speaking of which, next is Metavision. Now I understand that we didn't see him use it directly, but we can draw clues from the users we know has it. First, let's talk about the fact that all of them showed this grid pattern engulfing the field when they first activated it, like Isagi in the 3rd selection and Nico and Aiko in the U20 game. And what do you know, Rin also showed this pattern twice, when he wanted to stop Sai and in the corner shot that followed. But also, the narrative in Blue Lock suggests that Rin has always been using Metavision, albeit a crude and unpolished version of it. When Hiyori commented on how Isagi through Metavision seemed like he was controlling everyone in the Manshine City game, Isagi immediately thought of how Rin was in the 2nd selection and how he now understands why he is called the Puppeteer, which is a great hint at Rin having Metavision, and also leads us to the 3rd point that takes us back to Isagi, Nico and Aiko. All of them presented an insane spatial awareness that was the catalyst for the awakening of their Metavision. And well, we all know that Rin has the best spatial awareness in Blue Lock, and it's only logical that he too will awaken his Metavision once he meets players strong enough. But in all honesty, just the fact that Isagi when awakened his Metavision started to play like Rin with his insane calculated positioning is all we need to know that Rin obviously will have Metavision. And this makes me wonder, what kind of a beast will Rin become when he awakens the best vision in Blue Lock? Well, the best all-around vision that is. The best vision for pure striker remains the Predator eyes. So, does Rin have them too? Well, yes. We have seen in chapter 99 how Rin hid his shot behind Chidu and Chigiri to take the goalkeeper by surprise while his vision is obstructed. And this is 100% goalkeeper hunting ability and thus Predator eyes. As I said, Rin is the king of showing weapons before they get established, and even though we haven't seen him use the gold course hunting ability, the fact of the matter remains he has Metavision and Predator eyes, which is an insane of a feat honestly. And we know how threatening this is from Kaiser, who too has both visions, which are his strongest weapons in addition to his impact. Which leads me to ask the question, what about Rin's shooting ability? Well, we know Predator eyes pretty much dictates for him to have an insane shot. But how good is it? Well, we know that Rin has the most accurate shooting ability in Blue Lock, and second only to his brother Sai and Kaiser in the U20 category. But more impressively is his range. Rin can keep the insane accuracy from really far distances and even impossible angles to result in one of the most deadliest shots in the show. But finally, let's talk about his most mysterious weapon, the Berserker form, which is a state in which Rin throws everything away and becomes the sort of destroyer. His eyes embody this state through a broken spiral, and his aura turns dark and shadowy from his original calm water-like. His dribbling becomes destructive, where he brings the best of his opponents, and then completely counter them and destroy them. But also this state is as oppressive in defense as it is on offense. And Rin becomes the most dominant player in 1v1 duels, rivaling even Bachara and Sai's dribbling, while being far more threatening on defense. And after some research, I deducted that the Berserker state is Rin's original ego reawakening. As he stated, it felt very familiar with the image of Kid Rin shown. This means that once he masters it, we will expect that level of performance from Rin to be constant and his new playing style. Overall, being a 1v1 Emperor with his Berserker state, a scoring machine with his Predator eyes, and a masterful puppeteer that controls the whole field with his Metavision, Rin really is the final boss of Blue Lock. But can he beat the king Barou Shoei? For how this matchup will go, I gotta say I went into it thinking that it is very one-sided, like we got used to from previous arcs of Blue Lock. But after reviewing both players thoroughly, I gotta say it couldn't get closer than this, and I think them being the top scorers of the NEL is a testament to this. But I've got a surprise for you guys. We are going to start today's matchup with a unique comparison point, where I will answer the biggest question about these two. Who has the better shooting ability? To do so, I will present a chart with some of the most important criteria for evaluating the player's shooting ability. First, obviously, is gonna be the power behind the shot, then accuracy, shooting control, swinging speed, and finally conditioning, which is the ability to shoot regardless of the circumstances. I will first start by presenting the best U20 player in every category, and then give both Rin and Barou a score from what we've seen thus far, and finally get to answering the question who has the overall better shooting ability. For power, obviously Kunigami is the best, accuracy will be Sai tied with Kaiser, shooting control is Nagi, swinging speed is Kaiser again, and finally conditioning, which is Shiro's territory. Alright, but what about our two strikers? For power, it's easily Barou, and in the opposite vein, accuracy, it's easily Rin. In fact, despite Barou's shot being more powerful, Rin has better range due to his accuracy. And even though Barou increased his accuracy with his Predator Eyes, Rin is still superior here. Next is shooting control, in which Rin wins again. Even though Barou is capable of modifying his shot greatly, we have seen more feats from Rin in this regard. For swinging speed, Barou clearly has the upper hand. In fact, the way Rin is drawn when shooting indicates that he takes his time in order to increase his accuracy. But finally, for conditioning, Barou again has the upper hand. He was able to shoot under many crowded situations, especially in the Bastard game. But also in the U20 game, he forced that goal with brute force through the toughest of defense. On the other hand, Aiko's whole game plan in the U20 game against Rin was not to stop his shots, but rather it was to press Rin and not allow him the freedom he needs to shoot. And even in his Berserker state, it still worked with the help of Shido. But also in chapter 246, Loki addressed this subject. And now from this we can clearly see that even though Rin's shooting ability is broken, Barou is overall better. It's not like Barou is miles ahead of Rin, but he is still better overall. And I'm going to die on this hill and say Barou's shooting ability is second only to Kaiser's honestly broken impact. But with that out of the way, let's get to the real deal and start with a physical duel. And here Barou also trumps. Barou has better raw power, better endurance, and somewhat better jumping ability than that of Rin. In fact, as it is the case with Ryo, having a well-rounded physicality is great for a full game, but in 1v1 physical contests, oppressive players like Barou and Kunigami are superb. Rin's only saving grace is his far superior speed to that of Barou's. But as you all know, physical stats, while being very important, they don't tell the full story of how matchups go in football and who is the most dominant player, Snuffy being the prime example of this. So let's not waste any time and take things to a real field and evaluate both players in a real game. Funny enough, triggering this matchup is remarkably easy. Both players have the biggest egos in Blue Lock, and both love to be at the center of the world more than anything. And thus it is guaranteed that they will go at each other relentlessly. So who would come on top? First, taking his performance in the NEL, Barou will be the first offender trying to stop Rin. So how would that go, and will he be successful? Well, the quick answer in a straight up 1v1 is no. But let's dig deeper. The biggest problem for Barou would be Rin's dribbling. Even though Barou has an insane dueling ability, he is no match for Rin's dribbling, especially in his Berserker form. However, as we learned from Isagi and Kaiser throughout the NEL, that's not the only way to stop oppressive players. And in fact, we have seen this from Barou before, when he stopped Isagi and Kaiser's double shot and pressed Hiyori multiple times. Now granted, it's going to be harder with Rin, due to his metavision and his shooting course being curved and thus harder to stop, especially with the Predator Eyes. Yet we've seen how Barou adapted to both Kaiser and Isagi's metavision, and in two different occasions he was completely outside of their field of vision. But also he sneaked up on Hiyori multiple times, and in both of these cases it was due to the protagonist's feeling ability, which in hindsight is a broken weapon honestly. And for Barou, well, before he wasn't able to stop Sai due to the latter having metavision. But with him adapting to metavision and with his protagonist feeling weapon, Barou has a much better understanding of whatever situation he is in. Obviously Rin can adapt, but like we've seen in the second selection, Barou's adaptability is better than that of Rin's, and with a better physicality than that of Nagi, has a legit chance at stopping Rin this way. Alright, but what about Rin stopping Barou? Charging him head on will prove futile. Barou's physicality is great, but more importantly his unpredictability will prove really hard to deal with for the calculated Rin. Furthermore, with Barou being the light of his team, it only gets trickier and trickier for Rin. Even though he is the one-on-one emperor now, Barou is just that oppressive of a striker. However, let's cut to the chase. The best way to stop Barou, or the most effective way I should say, would be doing what Isagi, Kaiser and recently Chigiri were doing. That is lurking around the king and kill his momentum in its choking point, which is when he is shooting. And trust me, it is going to be even worse with Rin. With his relentless berserker state, his puppeteer playing style and metavision, Rin actually would be the worst opponent for Barou, even worse than how Isagi was. But this brings us back to the second selection. Barou's unpredictability was the hardest thing for Rin to deal with, and even though Rin would have better chances at stopping him at first, Barou will still adapt. And this was the case for Isagi and Kaiser in the Bastard game. After being pushed, Barou adapted, awakened his goal course hunting ability and beat both of them. And they did not stop him once after that. So this will not be easy for Rin as one might think. But the thing that will be really hard for Barou is him fusing his Berserker state with Metavision. Imagine a relentless, perfect position in Beast. With this, I would say Rin would have a slightly easier time scoring over Barou than the other way around. It is really close. Both players will have a hard time stopping each other. But I have to say, from what we've seen, Rin is our winner and is the better overall player right now. So that's it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and until next time, thank you for watching.